Hi everyone. Today we're going to start reading a new Magic Treehouse book. We're going to read the book Ghost Town at Sundown. And in this book, Jack and Annie are going to the prairie. Let's go ahead and start reading. Today we'll read chapters 1 and 2. Once you're done once we're done reading, we're going to write a summary of the chapters that we read. So while I'm reading, be thinking about what the most important part of the book is. Chapter 1. How wild! Jack and Annie were sitting on the porch at their house. Annie was gazing down the street at Frog Creek Woods. Jack was reading a book. I have a feeling that we should check the woods again, said Annie. Why? Said Jack, without looking up. A rabbit's hopping by, said Annie. So? We've seen rabbits before. Not like this one, said Annie. What do you mean? Jack stood up and looked at her. He saw a rabbit with a very long leg hopping down their street. Soon the rabbit left the sidewalk and headed into the woods. He's a sign, said Annie. A sign of what? Said Jack. That Morgan's back, said Annie. She jumped off the porch. Come on! But what about dinner? Said Jack. Dad said it would be ready soon. Don't worry, said Annie. You know when we leave the treehouse, time just stops. She ran across their yard. Jack pulled on his backpack. Back in 10 minutes, he called through the screen door. Then he followed Annie. They hurried down their street and into Frog Creek Woods. The sun was setting above the trees. There he is, said Annie. The rabbit was standing in a ray of sunlight. When he saw them, he took off. Jack and Annie followed the rabbit until he vanished behind the tallest tree. I told you! See? Said Annie, panting. She pointed up at the tree. Morgan Le Fay was waving to them from the magic treehouse high in the branches. Jack and Annie waved back at her. As always, Jack was very happy to see the enchantress librarian again. Come on up, she called. Jack and Annie started up the rope ladder. They climbed up to the treehouse. We've followed a strange rabbit here, said Annie. Is he your friend? Perhaps, said Morgan. She smiled mysteriously. I have many odd friends. Including us, said Annie. Morgan laughed. That's right. How are you? Said Jack. I'm still having problems with Merlin, said the enchantress, which leaves me little time to do my real work. But soon you will both become master librarians, and that will be a big help to me. Jack smiled. He was going to be a master librarian who traveled through time and space. It was almost too good to believe. Are you ready to solve another riddle? Asked Morgan. Yes, Jack and Annie said together. Good, said Morgan. First, you'll need this for research. She pulled a book from her robe and handed it to Jack. It was the book that would help them on their journey. The title of the book was Days of the Wild West. On the cover was a picture of a western town on the prairie. Oh, wow, said Annie. The Wild West? Jack took a deep breath. Just how wild, he wondered. Morgan reached into the folds of her robe again and pulled out a scroll. She handed it to Annie. Read this when the treehouse lands, she said. Is it the riddle? Asked Jack. Yes, said Morgan. Then you'll only have two more to solve. Are you ready? Jack and Annie nodded. Annie pointed to the picture of the cover on the Wild West book. I wish we could go here, she said. The wind started to blow. Goodbye, said Morgan. Good luck. The treehouse started to spin. Jack squeezed his eyes shut. The house spun faster and faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Jack opened his eyes. Morgan Le Fay was gone, and a fly was buzzing around his head. Chapter 2. Rattlesnake Flats. The air was hot and dry. Jack and Annie peeked outside. The treehouse had landed in a lone tree on the prairie. The sun was low in the sky. Right in front of them was a town from the cover of the book. In real life, it looked empty and spooky. Sorry, friend. To one side of the town was a patch of ground with several tombstones. That's creepy, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. He took a deep breath. Okay, what does our riddle say? Annie held up the ancient scroll and unrolled it. Then she and Jack read together. Out of the blue, my lonely voice calls out to you. Who am I? Am I? Jack pushed his glasses into place and read the riddle to himself again. There must be a mistake, he said. Am I was written twice. Well, I don't hear any voices now, said Annie as she looked out the window. There was no human sound at all, only the buzzing of flies and whistling of dry wind. Let's look at the book, Jack said. He opened the book. The pages were yellow with age. He found a picture of a town and read the words beneath it out loud. In the 1870s, Rattlesnake Flats was a rest stop for the stagecoach that carried passengers from Santa Fe, New Mexico to Fort Worth, Texas. When the creek dried up, everybody left. By 1880, it was a ghost town. Wow, a ghost town? Said Annie, her eyes wide. Let's take a quick look around, said Jack, so we can leave before dark. Right, said Annie. Let's hurry. She started down the rope ladder. Jack put the old book into his pack, then he followed Annie down the ladder. They stood by the tree and looked about. Tumbleweeds blew across the dry ground. Suddenly, something jumped past them. Yikes! They both said. But it was just a rabbit, a lone, long-legged rabbit, hopping past them. Hey, he's just like the rabbit we saw at home, said Jack. Yeah, that rabbit must have been a sign for things to come. The rabbit hopped across the prairie and out of sight. I better take notes, said Jack. He reached into his backpack and took out his notebook and pencil. He wrote, Rabbits with long legs. What's that sound? Said Annie. What sound? Asked Jack. The rattling one, said Annie. Jack looked up. What? He said. There! Annie pointed to a rattlesnake. It was about 100 feet away. It was coiled up and rattling. Uh-oh. Jack took one look at the snake and ran. Annie ran too. They ran past the graveyard and right into the ghost town. I guess that's why they called it Rattlesnake Flats, said Annie when they stopped. Jack looked around. The town was hardly big enough to be called a town. There was one unpaved street and a few old buildings. It was quiet. Too quiet. Look, a store, said Annie. She pointed to a building. The sign faded said, General Store. Let's look inside. Maybe the answer to the riddle is in here. Jack and Annie stepped onto the porch. The wooden boards creaked loudly. The door had fallen off of its hinges. They peeked inside. The air was thick with dust. Spider webs hung from the ceiling. Maybe we shouldn't go in, said Jack. But what if the answer is here? Said Annie. Let's just take a quick look. Okay. Jack took a deep breath. He and Annie tiptoed into the store. Look, said Annie. She picked up a pair of rusty spurs. Careful, said Jack. He poked at other stuff in the store. An old feed sack, a rusted tin cup, a faded calendar dated 1878. Wow, said Annie. She held up 2 cowboy hats. She put one on and handed one to Jack. For you. It's too dusty, said Jack. Just blow on it, said Annie. Jack blew on his hat, and a cloud of dust rose up. Jack sneezed. Just try it on, said Annie. Jack put the hat on. It nearly covered his eyes. Boots, said Annie. She pointed to a row of cowboy boots on the shelf. There are even some small ones, like our sizes. Here's a pair for you. She handed the boots to Jack. They're not ours, he said. I know, just try them on, said Annie. Jack turned his boots upside down and shook them as hard as he could. What are you doing? Asked Annie, pulling out another pair of boots. Checking for scorpions, Jack said. Jack, laughed Annie, just try them on. Jack sighed. He pulled off his sneakers. He pushed his feet into the boots. He pushed and pushed. The boots were really stiff. Finally, he got his feet inside and tried to walk. Ow, he said. Forget it. He started to pull off the boots. What's that? Annie said. Jack froze. Piano music? Said Annie. Maybe it's the voice in the riddle. Come on! Jack threw his sneakers into the backpack and hobbled after Annie. All right, friends, now it's your turn to think of a summary. What's the most important thing that happened in this chapter? Where are Jack and Annie? They're now in the ghost town on the prairie. And what are they doing there? They're trying to solve the riddle. Those might be some important facts to include in your summary today. When you think you're ready, I want you to go to the writing video so you can see what we're doing today. Have fun!